Good morning, everyone. Welcome to DGD204. We are on week 3. Today is the 4th of March 2026. And you heard that correctly. 1/6 of the year is already done. Okay? Let that sink in. Anyway, before I started recording, we were talking about survival crafting games, and we weren't necessarily talking about simulations in them, but this is the intro part, so I give myself the liberty to diverge a little bit. But we were talking about the fantasy of a specific game, which is important because last week I remember telling you about the entire game being a simulation. And when we think of it as a game designer, from a game designer perspective, we also should think of the fidelity of the simulation. I hope you remember that part. How accurate is my game when compared to real life? And we made a comparison. We said fun on one end, realism on the other, and generally they get in each other's way. So we try to find the balance in our game, which is a simulation of reality in itself. But at some points, you decrease the reality in order to increase the fun. And fun is generally very important. But when you decrease the reality so much that the players cannot relate to the game at all, it doesn't matter how much you increase the fun most of the time. So in this balance, we find the thing called the game's fantasy. And what we mean by that is, what kind of experience is this game trying to give me as a player, right? That was what I meant by the game's fantasy. So, eh, as a game designer, we try to find that. So most of the time, when you try to make gamers play a game, of course they can pick things about, oh, I like shooter games, I like survival crafting games. I just told you before we started recording, I generally don't go into a game if it involves zombies, right? So every gamer has these kinds of preferences, but let's put them aside for now. As game designers, what we are trying to think about is, what kind of a fantasy am I trying to pull the player into? Because that is ultimately what they will be hooked on, right? I might play, for example, a shooter game, or let's put it this way, I might play a zombie game if it is compelling enough for me, if the fantasy is strong enough. For example, you open a zombie pawn shop simulator. I don't know. I just made it up because simulator games are so cool. If anybody wants to make that, you can make that. But a pawn shop games with zombies, I don't know. I have no idea how that would work actually. Now, actually, I'm getting ideas, but I still won't make it because I don't like zombies. Anyway, so, and the game I'm about to show you, for me, as an astronautical engineer by graduation, and as a game designer and developer, this game was totally mind numbing. I started playing this game's demo first, and I couldn't believe my eyes how somebody could put out such slop. All right. And then I looked at the numbers. So let me show you the game. Let me share my screen with you. Now, not a very bad trailer, by the way.
Emergency. Correct your trajectory. Imminent impact. Imminent impact.
Very tough looking, huh? Very basic UI. The assets, well, I am a little bit biased because I know the assets very well from Unity Asset Store. I have them as well. Kind of infuriated me was not infuriated, but irritated me. Let's say it because this as a prototype has 2 weeks of work tops maximum. All right, if you are an experienced developer, you can and but here you saw it, right? In this game, you arrive at a barren planet and you terraform it. So you start with this kind of a landscape and you turn it into this. By the end of the game, players have, by end game, that same area is this. Now, this further irritated me because I personally know terraforming a planet would take thousands of years, if not hundreds. And I was kind of mildly, again, irritated that the player could do this in a matter of hours, right? But then, first of all, the technical thing, when you think from a technical perspective, all right, the game is basic, but these are people who have never made a game in their life, right? They are basically designers and not even from game design background. So when you look at that, the game is pretty impressive, right? And when you look at the fantasy, it's actually a damn strong fantasy. You are terraforming a planet, and this is very important in game design feedback. Feedback is, and we are going to see this in simulations as well, but feedback is very important in game design. And this game gives you the most satisfying feedback ever because you start planting you start putting moisture collectors around and you start seeing grass in 1 hour or so, in maybe 2 hours of gameplay. So you get the feedback of your efforts immediately. And this resonated a lot with players. And rightfully so, because is there something around here? I think this is the DLC because yeah, a solar system, so they got ambitious. But let me show you how much they made. 30 million. So again, a group of 6 people, first game ever, 30 million. I would say not bad, right? So when you think about the amount of, uh, but again, I made this mistake when I first saw the game. I judged it from my experience, from my point of view. And I was walking around and I would say, why would you just spread minerals around like that? Why don't you give the player a little bit of challenge? Blah, blah. Why isn't there a consistent design choice about which minerals are found where? So I was hooked up on that. But just players saw something different. They saw the fantasy, right? And that is very strong. That is very important. As far as I know, there is no other game that has tried this before Planet Crafter. By the way, I will tell you, even this one I suspect was AI generated, but I don't think AI generation was a thing back then. But the background on this one is actually from some asset on the Unreal Marketplace. It's not even the asset itself. It's a screenshot from the asset. I recognize that, and they put the ship in there, etc., etc. So, but uh, when I first discovered this, I think 2 years ago in early access, it was 6 million. Now it is 30 million. So these guys keep making money. I have this exact same rocket in a project. Anyway, so, but here is the thing, this is a simulation, right? And you could argue this is the simulation of an ecosystem. And even the story is not that strong. I mean, you are a prison convict. You are thrown onto this planet and said, okay, here is your sentence. You're going to terraform this. And it tries to mimic Subnautica or thematically so much so that there is again another there is an alien race in this, an ancient alien race, very much like how Subnautica does. Spoiler alert. eh, but again, let me show you one clip. There was this particular clip. I don't know if I can find it. Come on, I'm not trying to do this. Not all endings. There was one guy. See, this is the. Let's. I don't know if I can find it. I think it might be this one, but I want to go to the very end of it. Oh, this is Okay, come on. Do we have? Come on. What is going on? I just wanted to look. Okay, here it is. This is completely out of order. Okay, it doesn't matter. You know what? You've seen what it means. You've seen how much the game made. So, uh, again, this is not strictly in simulation space technically, but it is from a game design standpoint. It gave players the fantasy of terraforming a planet. Was it scientifically accurate? No, if you try to make it scientifically accurate, you should make it something like a civilization game where you see hundreds of years passing and you make decisions and you slowly see them take shape. But then you would have to be top-down isometric because that's what those strategy games do. And these guys really wanted to make it first-person survival crafting, but they put a really strong fantasy on top of that. They dialed down the realism to the point that fun balanced it very well. All right. So this is basically what they did. And they did it really well. And I'd say again, 30 million is not bad. Let's see if they have done anything else since then. Nope. They have one thing and it's going well, and they are doubling down on it. And from a team, again, who has made a game for the first time, I think this is the right choice. Planet Humble, I think I should buy this. Yeah, they're all discounted. And you see, it's not that another thing that they did well is that it is not that expensive. The game, what is this? Original soundtrack. All right, that's I don't remember anything anything particular about the soundtrack because I'm kind of a sucker for game soundtracks. I love game soundtracks, and this didn't. I don't remember it, so to speak, but I can listen to it. So the game itself is not that expensive. It has a demo if you want to try it out yourself. And if you're interested in survival crafting games, I highly suggest you do. But for example, on another end of it, let's say there is this one. I really wanted to try this. Oh, it's on discount, 90%. So this game tries to go the realistic way to the point that from the forest rule of yeah, but I wasn't talking about the decorations. I was talking about the actual. Yeah. So you get infected. You have to look at your wounds. So I've played this for a few hours, and for example, you are walking in the forest and there's a spider on the ground. If you don't pay attention, that spider might bite you, and it's really small. So it is kind of like it tries to be a real survival game, but even then, you are building stuff like this, and it is not easy to build stuff like this as one person. And obviously, it would be almost impossible to swim like this. Come on. Why doesn't it show? See, you have boots and all those clothes and your backpack and you're swimming underwater? I don't think so. I mean, I'm not a very good swimmer myself. I would probably drown or sink to the bottom at this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys are very good swimmers that you can do this, but I don't think so. But anyway, and for example, for me, this game uh, and also the forest has a very, very big problem. Has any of you played the forest? Do you know the story? What is the story? Do you remember it? Yes, we are flying. Yes, you are in a flight, you crash land, your son is missing, and you go about building and decorating a base. No, as a father, I'm not doing that. All right. I'm not building a big fortress in the forest while my son is who knows where missing. Right. The same problem in Green Hell because your wife is taken by savages in the island and you go decorating your base. I don't think so. But the same thing goes for Fallout 4. You are in a cryo chamber, you see your child, son being taken away, you wake up in the wasteland, you go outside, and you go around doing a bunch of quests. I don't think so. I would tear that wasteland apart trying to find my child. So you see the dissonance between the narrative and the gameplay there. In the forest, you have a child missing, but you are base building. In Green Hell, your spouse is missing, but you are building a base. In Fallout 4, your son is missing and you are building a base. I have never built those bases beyond the basic requirement because I was looking for my family members in all three games, right? So for me, as a person who values narrative in games, their fantasy was weak. Now, when you look at the fantasy from a base building or realism perspective, it is good. But for example, the savages in the forest look very much like zombies, so I don't like playing it. But my daughter loves that, so we call them zibidis. Uh, zibidiler. So I kind of played with her. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you, you can strengthen the fantasy. And from a technical standpoint, the forest is really good. You can uh, build your stuff, and the survival crafting and especially inventory thing is really good. Blah blah blah. And Green Hell tries to be realistic on that account. It's just 1.35. I mean, it's literally cheaper than a cup of coffee. If you want to try it, you can go and try this. Uh, but there was a big problem which prevented me from playing for a very long time. They had a spawning problem, which the enemies could spawn inside your base because if they had a spawn point there, it wouldn't be disabled. So they would just spawn inside and destroy everything inside your base. It remained a big problem for a very long time. But I think they finally addressed that. Actually, let's look at the negative. See, somebody found it. It has the title Hell is inside it, but it is simply tedious, annoying, and lacks any logic. So this is something. Oh, this is actually a very good example. So let me blow this up for you. I have to open my notepad. My mental faculties are not top notch today, you might have noticed. So this guy says, okay, I understand its title has hell in it, but it's still, it should be like this. I'm sorry. Simply tedious, annoying, and lacks any logic. Listen, I go camping and I've seen people stay in Amazonas. They sure as hell don't have to constantly drink water every 30 seconds. They don't have to eat every 2 minutes and don't catch something that's attacking them every 3 seconds. Now, here is the thing. In Subnautica, some of you have played it. Do you remember how many seconds of air you have when you begin the game? It's 45 seconds of air. So you initially have 45 seconds of oxygen. You have to surface every 45 seconds. You make yourself a tank, oxygen tank, and it goes something up to 75. You make yourself a high capacity tank and it goes up to something 130. Now, have any of you gone diving? Is there anyone among you who have tried diving? I never, as I said, I'm not a good swimmer. I would be truly mortified in a real underwater environment. I could die of fright. I don't know. But I know for a fact that when you strap an oxygen tank on your back, you don't have just 75 seconds of air. My estimate is you have 1 or 2 hours of it. I don't know. It's definitely not 75 seconds of air. Okay? Uh, so, how does Subnautica get away with it then? Right? I mean, that's not realistic. In Subnautica, you have to eat every 3 minutes as well because your vitals go down. You have to drink water a lot more. So, uh, and then I'm going to ask you something else, something similar. How many of you have played Cyberpunk 2077? None of you. I mean, some of you should have. Okay. I mean, don't even start me and Michael at Lost. Michael was crazy in Lost. All right. Everybody in Lost was crazy. I mean, there was this one girl that constantly tried to say, just shouted, "They tried to take my baby." I think she was Australian. And then there was this Saeed guy who was a very cool guy, but he said only 2 words, Shannon and transmitter. That's all that he said throughout this. He was shouting them. Anyway, in Cyberpunk 2077, you play in Night City, right? And uh, I'm going to ask this to people who played directly. How well do you think they depicted a busy metropolis in as Night City in Cyberpunk? Were you satisfied with that? The people who played. I mean, some of you must have played it. Come on, I have about 300 hours in it, I guess. What? You haven't played it, or you weren't satisfied? What is it? Okay. Who among you have played? I mean, guys, you should play it. Find it somewhere in a friend's computer because that is a genre defining game. Okay. Not to mention the concept of cyberpunk is very relevant today. But the thing is, let me show you the map of Night City. The question was whether you played cyberpunk or not. Okay, did you find the Night City satisfactory as a huge city? This is the play area, kind of. So, and if you have a car or a motorbike, whatever, the time you take from this end, from Pacifica, to go all the way to Northside Watson is about how long? About 7 or 8 minutes, right? In game. So you just hop on a car from this end of the map and you ride all the way to the north, to the technically the other end of the map, right? And it takes about 7 to 8 minutes. And this is one of the largest cities in the world on that setting. Imagine you are in Istanbul, hopping on a car and trying to get from one end of the city to the other end of the city in about 8 minutes. I mean, you cannot get to the metro station from your campus in 8 minutes, right? So, what I'm trying to tell you is Night City inside the game has a very big and satisfactory map size, but it's not realistic. It is incredibly dialed down, right? So it is maybe 1/100th of what it should be. So what we have here is the map size compressed down to manageable levels by player cognitive ability, first of all. Second of all, if I'm going to live in the fantasy of cyberpunk, not the reality of it, I have maybe 1 or 2 hours of playtime. I might have three, I might have four. I don't want to spend that stuck in a traffic jam as I try to go to a gig of blasting some people. I just want to be able to go there and blast those people. Okay? So, uh, and again, what you do see in Skyrim map, you can walk from one end of Skyrim to the other in about 30 minutes tops, maybe even 20 minutes. It doesn't mean this is a small basin of an area. This is a state. I mean, this is basically maybe as large as Turkey. I don't know. Because mm, Tamriel, come on. Tamriel Trade Center? What the? I have to look. I'm sorry, guys. I have to look this up. What is this? What? Ah, a trade center for Elder Scrolls Online. I guess this is a illegal. Yeah, you put these C's and R's here, but I hardly think this is a legitimate uh, marketplace because in-game items generally cannot be traded outside of games. Anyway, so this is a continent. Think of Asia, or smaller, think of Europe. And this is one part of it. This should be at least as large as Spain. At least. Okay? This section where you play Skyrim. This is, by the way, this is where my favorite game is, Daggerfall. Anyway, this is Skyrim. So this is that's Skyrim. Imagine this is some size of Spain, right? Imagine walking from one end of Spain to the other in 20 minutes. Do you see what is being done here in terms of game design? We are compressing things down so the player doesn't waste time in filler walking sequences, right? Does it make sense what I'm trying to tell you? So, when we are designing especially open world experiences, such simulations, you might have noticed in any of these games, day night cycle is very fast. So Minecraft, 7 minutes day night cycle. I mean, I don't remember exactly in Skyrim, but it's somewhere around 10 to 15 minutes. In Night City, it's slightly longer in Cyberpunk, but it's definitely not 24 hours because we are putting the player in a fantasy of living in that city. And I want the player to experience both the nighttime and the daytime of that city, right? And if they have time to play only in the evenings, and it's always going to be evening in that time because it's going on in real time, right? I'm not giving the player the full fantasy. But when you put this to Subnautica, for example, or when you put this to Green Hell, where this guy has announced their dissatisfaction, you don't have to drink water every seconds actually. In the game world, you have to drink water every few hours. It's just that the time is compressed into a shorter time frame so that you experience 1 day of in-game adventure in 7 to 8 minutes. So we are severely damaging the reality aspect of it, right? We are pulling down, yeah, you cannot see me properly. We are pulling down realism so that we might increase the fun a little bit. At least we can respect the player's time because, as I said, people want to be in the fantasy of this. They don't want to be living in the night city 24 hours straight. I mean, if anybody wants to live in such a dystopia, there might be something different about you than the rest of us because I certainly don't want to live in night city, or I don't want to be stuck in some Amazonian forest with cannibals. All right, I don't want to be stuck in a sea world with no hope of escape, with wild sea life that I don't know if it's poisonous or not, etc., etc., etc. Right? So we are playing the games because we want to buy in to the fantasy, not the reality of it. So this entire 45 minutes of my speech was dedicated to how we can balance realism with fun in games. So you can definitely expect a question about this in the midterm. But I promise you, it will not be a very demanding question. For example, what I can ask you, I will be upfront and tell you what I have in mind right now. I might ask you to pick a game that does this time and space compression. Okay? I've given you many examples myself. And ask you to elaborate regarding that game how this time and space compression is applied and why the designers might have chosen that. For example, some games have very heavy use of fast travel. Some games, for example, require you to be at a location first to be able to use that fast travel. That is kind of the industry norm. But for example, Daggerfall did not have that. Daggerfall is a game that takes place here. As I said, it's my favorite Elder Scrolls game. It's Elder Scrolls 2. Oh, you don't see the map. Oh, you do see the map. You have been seeing the map all along. All right, you haven't been seeing me actually. You have been looking at the map as I was waving my arms around. Sorry about that. Anyway, this is the Daggerfall map. This is the Daggerfall map. And as I said, this is just the bay here. See? The tip of it actually. But it was a nice bay, yeah, I had very nice time in this bay. I mean, too. I spent a lot of money. My favorite place is Wyreth. I was a knight of Wyreth in my longest playthrough. But the thing is, guys, this map is large. In real world dimensions, this map is roughly as large as England. So one YouTuber took the time to come to this point of the map, straddled a horse, and started riding to the other end. It took 74 real time hours to ride, non-stop. Okay? So, actually, let me show you something. I come to this kind of videos every few years. I've played this one before. I don't know if 1 year ago, 4 years ago. I think I know this one. So this is taking up. I will I will tune the volume down a lot because I want to talk over it. Then we will take a break. It has Spanish as well. I love this already. Right. Okay, it starts with Rocket League. I mean, it's just a football field. I think this hardly, but you see, this is Florence as a city, right? This tries to simulate an entire city or a district of it. And it's hardly realistic to think tanks do battle in a 1 kilometer square area, realistically, right? So it's just a very small place, 100 meter, 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer, and you put tanks in it. I have played FF Legends only once or twice. It was a nice game. Fortnite, I mean, this is an island. They can say anything about it. But this one, Grand Theft Auto, is a city. And you see, this is the actual city of London for scale. This is an actual city in the actual world. And this is just, when you look at London, this is the Thames River. So I think this is around where I lived when I was there. So anyway, but this city has the outskirts of it too. So this is an entire city presumably Grand Theft Auto took place in Los Angeles. It always takes place in Liberty City is Los Angeles. So Spider-Man is Manhattan Island, I presume. So Mafia is again another city. Is Los Angeles. Yeah, see, this is how large Skyrim is. It's hardly a district in London. Liberty City is New York. Yeah, you are Medic. You are sorry. You are correct. I'm sorry. Liberty City is New York. So again, San Andreas, supposedly a full city, right? Oblivion, again, another. I'll just shut up now. You see, the maps keep getting bigger, but when you think of them, Grand Theft Auto 5, an entire island with an entire city and rural area, right? Mountains, etc., etc. It's still as large as a district of London. The entire Nile Delta is here, guys. This is Egypt. This is the entire Nile Delta, right? And here it is, Cyberpunk. The entire side of the continent. I haven't played Ark much. I have played for a few hours. This is an entire world with two continents. Actually, there was only these when I was playing, so these things obviously came later on. Okay, but this is a continent. This one is notoriously realistic. DayZ, my brother spent hundreds of hours playing it, but still, it is not as large as it should be. This is the entire, I don't know the English word for it, Mora Yarımadası, right? Well, these kinds of games, driving games, I think if this was kind of a driving game, they kind of have it easy because you put the roads in, you are going fast with the car anyway, and you don't put anything in between, and you have a big map. But when you look at it, guys, this is London, okay? An entire island nation, and you have seen a lot of maps here, and we are coming to the big ones now. This is still as large as a city at most. No idea what this waterfall hasn't come up. It will. Yes, it is big. That's why I love it. It's big. But you see, this is a driving game. The crew, it's the entire United States. It's still twice the size of London in real scale. Another driving game, as I said, they have it easy. You put the roads in and it's done. Yes, this is it. And look at all those games, all those measly AAA games from recent years, and this guy from almost 25 years ago, not 25, 28 years ago, beats them into the dust. So I will stop it right here. So in all these games, most of these games, how fast travel works is you have to go there first to unlock fast travel because otherwise you won't be seeing anything the developers have made for the game. Not in Daggerfall. It's impossible to go somewhere first in order to unlock it. So the way it works in Daggerfall is you get a quest, you get the name of the place, and you open the map, you open fast travel, and you type the name and you find it. That's how it works. Otherwise, you will have hours. You will have to spend hours getting there. Again, this is supposedly the entire Germany. Elder Scrolls Arena is the first Elder Scrolls game, so it is from the same cut cloth as this one. But I don't know, I haven't played it. I don't know how much overland travel it has. You might be just hopping. Mhm. Yeah. And there's a reason for it actually, because Arena, as the name implies, was actually designed as a gladiator simulator kind of thing. So you were supposed to play a group of gladiators, a group of them, and you would go from city to city, arena to arena, to fight gladiatorial battles. It was supposed to be a party RPG. At some point, they decided to turn it into a person party, single person game, right? You play as one character, and they decided to turn it into an RPG rather than an gladiator battle, right? So probably, and they kept the scope in like that. You can see it is actually as large as Europe, so the size is legitimate. But as Nikita said, that's and that scope is was unmanageable by hand. But still, we have more. Obviously, flight simulator. That's kind of a bit of cheating. You put in the entire world, so it becomes the entire world. But this is a typical mine. This is the theoretical size of a Minecraft world because it is procedurally generated, and it's only limited at the bounds of this. This is 8 times Earth's surface area. It is limited at the bounds because you all have taken programming courses. You know what a float is, right? So you know the number types. There's integer, there's float, and after a certain point, the float gets so large that the computer starts to introduce errors as it tries to calculate them. So what happens in Minecraft is when you go too far to the ends of the world, the grid starts to drift. So you put blocks at some point, but it appears somewhere else. Farlands, exactly. Tail World game actually had that. So the game starts to break. It's a very surreal experience. And it's actually kind of what you would expect from the end of the world because the physics laws in the game don't apply anymore. It's a really trippy experience when you go to the far lands, if you manage to go to the far lands. But other than that, if it not that heavily problem, it would be the programming is limitless. This is supposedly what Star Citizen will offer. We are still waiting, uh, but it's going to have this much of an area with systems design, etc. But when you look at the sun, it still doesn't look that big. So when you think of the scale, I mean, it will be a blast to play if it ever comes out. We are, as I said, we are still waiting for the 10 plus years. But These are all star systems, supposedly, and they are smaller than our medium sized single star. And come on. Eve Online, a game that would take all your time. I don't. Who here knows about Eve Online? Come on, give me. This is, guys, this is the single most ambitious MMORPG that you can probably ever find because it runs on a single server, not clustered different shards of servers as other games do. It had about 20,000 players at one point. And the thing about this game is it's a space simulator. You play as a capsuleer, so you that's why I didn't play it. I switched to World of Warcraft instead because you it's third person. I don't like third person that much. But anyway, players control the economy. Players create the companies, corporations. They give the quests. They build the diplomacy, right? So this is almost entirely player-driven game regarding economy, regarding quests, and at one point, the largest battle in the game, two factions fought for control of one space station because that faction, the faction that originally controlled that space sector, forgot to pay the rent for it. So it kind of became available to anyone, and another faction swooped in. And this is what happened: people were phoned by their guild masters in the middle of work, in the middle of dates with their spouses or significant others, and they were called in to battle. They were said, there is this guild battle. You have to come and join now. We are fighting for this sector. And they answered. And that battle is estimated to cost about $500,000 of real money worth of ships. So $500,000 worth of ships in real money were destroyed in that battle. And since it's a simulation, this is actually the part that interests us. So you normally play the game in real time, but it's a single server and there are so many players. So at one point, the server actually slowed down tenfold. You would see 1 second of action play out slowly in 10 seconds because that's only how fast the computers, the server could process the amount of ships that were in there. So that, as I said, that was probably the most expensive MMO but battle ever, right? And EVE Online, when you look at it, has so many other stories. For example, there is this one guy who is the most trustworthy guy of EVE Online because back in the day, these capital ships, these large colossal class ships, uh, they could not be docked into space docks, right? So in the game, you can buy and sell these ships. But you know how in MMOs, when I trade something with you, we both open the inventory screen, right? And then we safely, I put something in your slot, you put something in my slot, I click agree, you click agree, and it is without hassle, right? Everybody, it's fair. I cannot steal anything from you. You cannot steal anything from me. Well, it was not like that even in EVE Online. It basically worked like this: I will transfer you the money and you give me control of the ship, pretty much like in real life. So, which one happens first? Do I give you the money first? How do I know you will give me the ship? If I give you the ship first, how do I know you will give me the money? So, that's exactly middleman. That's basically what a guy did. He stepped in for a friend and said, okay, I will watch in for you and I will oversee the transfer of this capital ship for you. He was trying to buy a capital ship, the friend. So he did this, and his friend recommended him to somebody else. He said, "Oh, I have this friend. He's real trustworthy. He can negotiate for both sides." So this guy, over a couple of years, became the person, the most trusted person in the game for transfer of capital ships, for sale of capital ships. So anyone wanted to buy a capital ship, they found this guy, and he didn't receive any money for it. He was just in it for the lulz. He would come in, he would be present at the scene, at the transfer. And if both parties saw that guy in there, they would say, okay, the other guy is not going to try to scam me because blah, blah is here. So this is something that literally happened inside the game itself by player interaction. You cannot have that kind of publicity for a game. And there's actually a trailer. I really want to show it to you. It shows you what EU is. But let's finish this first, okay? Because there is one more game yet that will take the heart of me. So this is the entire galaxy. And Elite Dangerous actually scales the Milky Way galaxy to 1-to-1 scale. The map is that large. It has billions of stars in our galaxy. Obviously, uh, obviously, not every star is actually accurate to the real star in the Milky Way, but it does do the real size of it. The only thing is, it has light over the light, speed of light, faster than light travel. Otherwise, you cannot travel from one point to another, obviously. But it does scale everything, and the I think around 2 to 3% of the entire galaxy is ever explored by players up to this point. It's been out for 12 years, I guess. So, for example, in the Elite Dangerous map, some of the planets have my name on it because I was the first person to ever be on that system. I was the first player to ever step on those planets, and maybe nobody else did after I did. So imagine that scale in a game. But for example, Elite Dangerous has a very big flaw because when compared to the size of the galaxy, this is developed by people, obviously. The amount of, well, exploration is wonderful, but after a certain amount of time, you start seeing the same thing over and over again, and the galaxy is empty. It's very much like traveling in a realistic Istanbul. It's boring after some time, but you play for the experience of it. I have 1,000 hours in Elite Dangerous, so I will defend it to my grave, but there are some problems with it as well. And this is indeterminate, and this is kind of a marketing ploy. I don't know if you were gaming when No Man's Sky came out. Who remembers its launch in 2016, about 10 years ago? Do you remember the launch? Yeah, great. Do you remember what a flop it was, Ali Reza? The game was not actually garbage, but the problem was now here is the full story. No Man's Sky came out. Actually, let me see if I can find. I want to find the original trailer, launch trailer. Okay, let me share the screen with you again. We keep doing this today. By the way, this was I think 10 or 20 people team. was how. So, but the thing is, as you see, PS4 available now, the Sony logo. The thing that happened is these guys, Hello Games, were a small indie studio and they were picked up by Sony early on. So Sony marketed them very heavily as the next big thing. And to the point that my speculation is that they pressured them into releasing in a window and the guys weren't ready. So they had to release without the full game available. And they took such a big backlash. I mean, they made millions and millions of dollars because the hype was so big. You couldn't believe this. I mean, it was it may be the most hyped game of all time, or it would rank in a lot high. So, but the thing is, the game's content was just not there when the game launched. People, even in the UK, people sued the company saying they showing some instances, some creatures from the trailer, and saying this creature is not in the game. This creature is not in the game. Thankfully, the judges ruled that this is a procedurally generated game. Just because that creature shows up in the trailer doesn't mean the creature can show up in the game. Thankfully, it was a judge who understood how games work, apparently. But anyway, what these guys did, this is the biggest comeback story of all time. They did not take the money and run. They did not close the studio. They did no such thing. Instead, for 10 years, they kept releasing updates. They didn't care about what people said. They kept releasing update after update after update to deliver everything they promised and more. Right now, the game is, uh, yeah, the game is beyond anything. And all of these updates have always been free. They did not charge a single penny from anyone after the initial purchase, right? So, if you ask me, the game became too convoluted. There are just too many mechanics. So my opinion that it was better at launch, so because it is all over the place now. I don't know what to do inside the game when I get into it, but players enjoy it. But the thing with our map is 18 quintillion planets possible. So this is what the developers said. We have this procedural generation. No two planet is ever the same. And when you multiply all the possibilities together, you arrive at a possible 18 quintillion planets. This doesn't mean it is as large as even Elite Dangerous. I'm ready to die on that hill. But I'm going to I mean, we might as well finish early today and not take a break. I don't know, in my university life, we had this thing going on. Of course, it was in Turkish. So sometimes we would say the teacher, hocam blok yapıp erken bırakalım. Because we would say, let's do a block session and leave early. Let's not give a break because we would rather be early out of the class. So let's do that today. I'm going to show you why EVE Online is EVE Online. And I have to warn you, there is some swearing in this. There are some swear words. Okay? This is EU. Uncensored, because I really want you to. And this is all in-game footage from players and in-game chat audio from players. Supposedly, this trailer has nothing generated by the company. It's all players.
Okay, what we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna sit 10K off a target, we're gonna blap it really quick, and then we're gonna warp to the run spot. Does that make sense?
Roger.
Outstanding. Okay, stand by.
So hey guys, here's the deal. They got their Prophecy fleet up, and then Razor also has an Oracle fleet. So we should have some interesting stuff about to happen.
So it's going to be like this. We're going to portal through, and at the same time, the triage carriers are going to jump. Just the triage carriers are first. Everyone clear?
Let me see. Oh crap. I think. Will we be able to take on Guardians?
Yeah, they got 4 Guardians. I don't think we should do this.
we can do this.
Don't worry about that.
Now we're gonna fucking play some fun games.
My heart's racing.
Fun, relax. All wings align. Primary is the Dominics in 5, 4, 3, 2. Decloak, decloak, decloak. Torpedoes on the Dominics. Dominics, Dominics.
Orbit on me, micro warp drives on. We're moving.
Secondaries, Vipers, and the Omen.
He's in structure. Take him down.
Dude, that revelation out now.
All newts on the ramp.
Turn out towards that Guardian. Jump now.
All damps on the damnation, all damps on the damnation. Scepter, stay here and tackle prophecies. This is where we fight.
Alright. So I'm carrying 100 times more than my ship is worth. There were some pirates chasing me. This one guy chasing me through like 5 different systems. I need to get the fuck out of this system.
This little rock right here is worth about 166 million ISK. For some people, this might not be a big deal, but for me, it's huge.
Seller 4.2, pretty nice. Gonna produce 4 of them, 2 days, 19 hours, 11 minutes, 44 seconds. We can expect to make 8 to 10 million around there.
51 out of 56 grid. Okay, good. And we've got 5 modules to fit in here. The ship's speed is actually pretty good. It can hit 4K a second. We're gonna hurt that now by adding on some armor buffer.
Up, success. Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Yay, Sophie's so much fun.
Oh, yeah, such fun. It's almost done now. Like, less than a week. Oh, look. Okay,
Whoa.
good. Oh, wow. Wow. That is mixing kings right there.
Archivian silos down, Archivian silos down. Go, 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 silos down. Portal, portal, primary.
Gate is green, gate is green. Sniper skills to long range utilize BSC. Timer gets idle and green, come on.
Oh shit, how do I warp to something?
E-war drone. All E-war drones on Scott.
Where are you decloaking?
Patch, that would be the secondary. Oh my god, that's a titan! Holy shit! Do not engage.
Let's go! Get those fucking bombs out! Red group fire! Gold group stand by! Come on, boys! Come on! Come on! Come on! Yeah! Yeah! Oh, that's fucking sweet!
I never played this that much, but I still love it all the same. This is the one. If you want to see it, this is not a long one actually, but this is about that battle, if I remember correctly, that cost $500,000. So, but let's try to bring this all together, what we talked about today, right? Because when you think about it, I did not tell you about physics simulations and all that stuff and everything, but we today I tried to tell you about what a game is as a simulation and how we can balance stuff inside it. Because again, I mean, next week we will continue from physics simulations and I will go into traffic simulations, etc. I know, I'm aware we are out of the syllabus, but I don't care that much because as game designers, having the general view of things, I think, is more important when you are designing a game. The entire game is a simulation, and you are going to make compromises. This is obvious when you play some games. You will see this from moment one, and some parts of it will be revealed to you as you keep playing a game, as you keep interacting in its systems. But what we are trying to do is, again, as I said, is to balance realism and fun. And we are compromising on both on certain occasions to try to find the balance, to give the player the fantasy that we want them to experience. So that's an important thing, actually. It's first and foremost, it is your fantasy that you want the players to experience as the game designer. It is you that will design something, and you might see this a lot from other. Actually, wait a second, let me take an attendance. Haha, because why not? You might hear it from many developer commentaries or interviews that they say, we made the game that we would like to play ourselves. And that is very much true because uh, you are trying to let the player live out a fantasy, right? And if you are excited about that, if you find it exciting to experience that yourself, then you can have that idea of how somebody else should experience it. And then you go about designing this grand simulation. There will be further simulations inside, of course, but you try to design the simulation as to how do I transfer my this idea of an experience to the players. Now, I want it to take place in a city. I want this to take place in a solar system. Do I make it realistic? Oh, or do I just bring it down to a size? Or do I just take one part of it? Do I apply mechanics realistically or do I do something else? I will show you actually the trailer from my all-time favorite game. I might have shown you this in another class, probably. I show it whenever I can because I think for me, this is the best game ever made. This is the release trailer of Outer Wilds. And look, try to imagine the fantasy, okay? That the game is trying to give you. No, no, you can't look. It's fine. I mean, discover everything in this trailer. This is the you play the solar system. But really, other than this, if you plan to play this, go into the game completely blind because so here's the thing. This game takes place in a solar system, and each planet is very charming and very unique. There are lots of things to discover, and there's a secret going on around it. But the thing is, technically, the solar system is around 30 kilometers wide. The entire solar system is less than what the size of Istanbul is. All right. From where I live to the Bosphorus Bridge, it's about 40 kilometers. And this solar system is three-fourths of that, 30 kilometers in size. But it doesn't pretend to be large. When you go out there with your spacecraft and you turn your spaceship to a planet, it says 3 kilometers. So it's a miniature solar system. Everything is very tiny in scale, and it doesn't have any illusion to tell you otherwise. It doesn't say 3 million kilometers and we are using faster than light. No, you are in a tiny, tiny solar system. But because that is not the thing it's trying to sell. It's not trying to sell you scale. It's trying to sell you the cozy vibes that the game has. The game is dangerous, by the way. There are very dangerous moments, but the entire solar system is so cute with everything, even the dangers. Okay, but there are some scary moments. The only thing you should know about you are supposed to know about the game anywhere you will find that it is about a time loop inside the solar system. So you play the same 21 minutes over and over and over again. And the game, this is why you shouldn't know anything about it. The game is about finding out what happened. It doesn't have a progression system except for a map of where you traveled before. You only have that one. Other than that, there is no progression system, no quests at all. You go to a place, you learn something about the story, which gives you an idea about some other place. Wait a second, this other planet might have this thing about what I just learned. And you slowly uncover the story of this solar system, of what's going on. And once you figure everything out, you finish the game within that 21 minutes of time frame. So right now, I can fire up the game. I can finish the game in about 10 minutes because I know the story. This isn't a game you can play a second time. I mean, I do play it a second time, a third time, to see the wonderful environments again, to remember certain things about the game. But other than that, once you play the game, once you learn about the game, it's done. That's why you should go in completely blind. But I think you should definitely, definitely play it. It is a wonderful story. It is wonderful narrative building. It is wonderful game design, wonderful assets. It's wonderful all over. And it's made in Unity. How about that? The guys actually collaborated with Unity a lot because back when the game was made, global illumination was not enough for an entire solar system. So they emailed Unity. By the way, this is actually a graduation project of a digital game design major. So the guys prepared this as a graduation project, presented it, and then they made the game. And they made the best game ever. So you can do it too. Why not? So, but the thing is, what Outer Wilds is trying to sell you is the fantasy of exploration, the fantasy of finding out a story. It doesn't try to give you a real scale solar system. It isn't, that's not what it's trying to do. So you see the difference between EVE Online and Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous and Outer Wilds. They're both space games. But what they are trying to tell the player, what they are trying to simulate, is vastly different. But for example, Outer Wilds has lots of simulations inside it because lots of things are going on in the planets. You will see them when you play them. But for example, space flight is pretty accurate. It doesn't say, oh, this is space flight, just use WASD. It is real Newtonian space flight, and you will have some time trouble controlling the spaceship, for example. Outer Wilds, let me tell you this. Outer Wilds has true Newtonian flight, and EVE Online, which is supposed to be the realistic space sim, actually has combat aircraft mechanics in space flight. And the developers of Elite Dangerous says it's deliberate. They deliberately made that choice to give the player a more arcade action feeling in combat. Real spacecraft would not work like how it would work in Elite Dangerous. It would work like how it would work in Outer Wilds. So think about that. One of them is trying to be the realistic space sim, but with non-realistic spacecraft controls. And the other one is a tiny space sim that doesn't lie about its scale or whatever, but it is using realistic spaceflight controls. So think about that. And realistic spaceflight controls will be very important in one part of the game. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but in one part of the game, let me tell you this. You will probably be stuck at one point. if you don't gather all the clues, at one point of the game, you will be truly stuck and you will be frustrated. Then you should remember how Newtonian mechanics work. Forward momentum preserves. Okay? Next week, I'm going to ask you how many of you have actually played Outer Wilds, and I will grade you based on that. Those of you who have played will have full grade from your midterm exam. I'm just kidding. I'm lying to you. Obviously not. But if we... Okay, anyway. That being said, let's leave it early today. Thank you for joining in. And next week, we are going to keep on being a little bit technical. All right. See you, take care, and play Outer Wilds.